It appears the Matt Gaetz ethics report is back on the table. According to NBC News, Democratic Representative Sean Casten of Illinois is planning to force a floor vote this week that would require the House Ethics Committee to release the report on the years-long investigation into former Representative Matt Gaetz. The former Florida congressman was being investigated for sex trafficking a minor, along with illicit drug use. Okay, now the results of that investigation have not come out, meaning that it is not exactly an exoneration. I mean, logically, if it were an exoneration, we would already know the results. They would be shouting it from the rooftops. Matt Gaetz didn't do it. Matt Gaetz didn't do anything wrong. Look, he keeps saying, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. If anything, if this report were a complete exoneration, then Matt Gaetz would be pushing, hey, release the report so that I can prove my innocence. He ain't doing that. Just saying. And in fact, all of the Republicans voted against releasing this before Gaetz took himself out of the running for Attorney General, because remember, Trump had chosen him for that job. The Ethics Committee, which is evenly split between Democrats and Republicans, voted on party lines to not make this report public. There needed to be a simple majority of congressmen, and that did not happen. Okay. And by the way, since there was no majority in that vote, and because Gaetz withdrew from the AG running and quit his congressional seat, you had Ethics Committee Chairman Michael Gaetz, a Republican from Mississippi, deciding, well, look, this should be the end of that. Not so fast. Not so fast. Look, even though Gaetz is no longer in the running for Trump's cabinet, nor is he a member of Congress, Casten still introduced a resolution on Tuesday that would force the bipartisan ethics panel to act. Now, because the resolution is privileged, it must be brought to the floor within 2 legislative days for a vote. Oh, interesting. Now, hold on a minute. Can they really release it now that Matt Gaetz is no longer in Congress? I mean, that is the question, right? Well, it turns out, yes. Yes, there is. Yes, they can. Okay. Normally, the committee only has jurisdiction over sitting members of Congress, right? But Republicans, yes, actually introduced a precedent decades ago. So they were able to publicize a committee's report about a former lawmaker months after he had resigned from Congress. So this goes back to the 1980s, back in October 5th of 1987, with Democratic, Representative Bill Boner. No, I kid you not, Bill Boner, who resigned to become mayor of Nashville. Now, the Ethics Committee had released an initial staff report the following December examining allegations that Boner had misused campaign funds, failed to disclose gifts, and had accepted bribes. Ooh. Now, in his defense, I'm sure those gifts were rather hard to refuse. I mean, he wouldn't want to look like a dick to the people who were giving him those gifts. You know what I'm saying? I know. I'm terrible.
Tallywhacker.
Okay. But there's precedent. Very important, right? The classic Boner case established precedent, and here we are. There's so much irony in this story. I love it. So anyway, let's see the report. Let's see it. And by the way, if the report is as bad as many of us are expecting, and maybe it won't be, all right, maybe it will be a nothing. Maybe it won't be so bad. But if it is, then it wouldn't reflect well on the Justice Department. Remember, the Biden Justice Department, okay, Merrick Garland, who dropped their probe of Matt Gaetz. Okay. I'm just saying, it would not look good on them if this ethics report comes up and shows evidence that Matt Gaetz indeed did sex traffic a minor. That would be bad. Now, Kasten had similarly introduced a resolution the week before Thanksgiving, but, since Congress had to go on their holiday, because that's more important than anything, right? They had to leave it. It expired, but the new version has been updated to include 4 examples of past instances where the Ethics Committee had released reports after members had left office, including the Boner Report. The Committee on Ethics, he said in a statement, has on many occasions released its reports on former members. Resigning from Congress should not allow members to avoid accountability for allegations as serious as those faced by Matt Gaetz. Withholding this report from the American people would impede the dignity and integrity of the legislative proceedings of the House. All right, hey, look, those are good reasons right there, right? And the bigger reasons for me, specifically, that I want to see it is, for one, I want the truth. I want the truth! And yes, I can handle the truth, okay? One way or the other, right? It'd be interesting to see. But why that should matter is, remember, his political career is not over. Yes, he resigned from Congress. Very likely, he may end up running for governor of Florida. That would be kind of important to know whether or not he's a sex trafficker, if he's going to run for that seat, okay? Or he could get appointed by Donald Trump to an acting position in the next administration. Now, being an acting to whatever, right? Whatever Donald Trump would want to put him in, what position, remember, that would not require Senate confirmation because he's acting. Okay. So it's one way that the Trump White House has, and we saw this during the last administration, right? Where they could get around the Senate confirmation process by just putting a bunch of acting people in charge of things. So that is one way that he could end up getting Matt Gaetz into that position, or any position he chooses. That's why it's important to know. All right? You got to release the report. You got to release the report. And again, if he had done nothing wrong, then, well, it would be a hell of an exoneration. And they could shout it from the rooftops. And that would do a lot to help Matt Gaetz' career and his political aspirations. Okay, good for him. But at the same time, if it's not an exoneration, then I think the American people deserve to know who they might be either electing to run a state, or who Donald Trump would appoint as an acting member of his cabinet, or whatever his political or, economic aspirations are in the future. Again, it would just really be important to know if he is a criminal. That's all. Release that report. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.